Hello students, welcome to the Samveda e-learning classes. Today we are going to discuss 9th standard political science, chapter 1st, our constitution, part 2 we are discussing in the today's class, children. My dear students, in the previous class we were able to understand the Constituent Assembly of Constitution, how Indian Constitution framed we understood in the previous class, and the Constitution Drafting Committee and framing of the Indian Constitution, the role of the Constituent Assembly and the Drafting Committee of the Constitution we learned. We also learned the preamble to the Constitution of India. Followed by the preamble, we learned the salient features of Indian Constitution, the main characteristics of the Constitution of India. These were all the points we discussed in the part 1 in the earlier class, children. In the today's class, let us explore the remaining points here, the fundamental rights and fundamental duties, along with that directive principles of state policies. Dear children, fundamental rights and fundamental duties. Fundamental rights, irrespective of caste, creed, community, irrespective of various categories, the fundamental rights are ensured to every citizen of this country, children. We are entitled to enjoy some fundamental rights. Meanwhile, we are also bound to do some duties towards our country, children. Every citizen, irrespective of the various factors, we are having the fundamental rights. A person who enjoys the fundamental rights here, he should also be aware of the fundamental duty, children. As a responsible citizen of this country, how he is responsible to enjoy his fundamental rights. Meanwhile, he is also responsible to discharge his fundamental duties towards the country. Fundamental rights provide the social, political atmosphere necessary for the development of the personality of the citizens, children. Of course, the rights, the basic requirements for all the people of the country, every individual person of the country. They are required for a person to lead a civilized life in society. They are also essential for the success of democracy. Dear students, as we studied already, India is one of the biggest democracy in the world. The success of the democracy is depending on the people here. And the fundamental rights play a very important role in the success of the democracy. There were 7 fundamental rights in the early constitution, children. Third part of the Indian Constitution. However, due to the various changes here, finally, however, after 44th Amendment to the Constitution of India, one right was abolished, that was none other than right to property, children. Apart from that, we have 6 fundamental rights today. Every Indian citizen is entitled to enjoy these fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution of India. So what are the 6 fundamental rights then? Let us learn about all the fundamental rights. The first fundamental right here, right to equality. It is very essential for every individual person as well as for the success of the democracy system. Under this right, all the citizens are equal socially, economically before the law. The right to equality says very clearly, all are equal before the law. Nobody is above the law in this land, in our country. All should get equal protection of the law, and none should be discriminated against on the basis of their caste, creed, religion, birth of place, gender, whatever is that. They should not be discriminated based on all these criterias. No citizen should be subjected to any restrictions with regard to access to shops, public restaurants, hotels, places of public entertainment, or public places of worship. Under this right, there is a prohibition of practice of untouchability in the country, children. No one should practice untouchability. It is an offense according to the fundamental right to equality. This right has enabled every citizen to get an equal opportunity to join government services in the country. Especially when it comes to the government services, the equal opportunities are given to the aspirants. My dear students, we have the second fundamental right here, that is called right to freedom. And it is one of the most important fundamental right. Under this right, one who can express his own opinion, he can conduct meetings here without arms, you can join in any of the places here to establish your own organizations, to live in anywhere in the part of the country, and to follow any kind of the profession. Right to freedom is expressed here under the article 19 to 22. Under this right to freedom, it is called a protective right, and also no one can be arrested without proper reason, and no state law can snatch the life and the freedom of citizens. This right will protect every individual freedom. Next one, children, we have right against exploitation here. Exploitation. The main aim of this fundamental right is to stop the exploitation of the women and children and the poor and the weak sections of the society. Begging, the Devadasi system, the practice of sati, immoral activities and forced labor have been prohibited under this act of the Constitution. Right against exploitation. Employment of children under 14 years of age in mining, in industries and other dangerous occupations is completely prohibited, and it is punishable under the law. Anybody has practiced such kind of the exploitation, they are put behind the bars. So it is an offense again. Right to freedom of religion, the next fundamental right. Since India is a secular country, children, we have already accepted secularism policy. There is no superior religion and no inferior religion in this country. All the religions are given equal status here. All the religions are respected equally. The citizens can accept any religion that their conscience dictates, practice it and propagate it. Under this right to freedom here, no one can be forced to pay taxes for the management of religious institutions. Use of religious places for political and other activities has been completely prohibited again. Apart from that, we have cultural and educational rights. All citizens of the country, they have their own language, script and culture. And it is the duty of the state to protect them. The cultural and educational rights protects the interests of religious and linguistic minority communities. No one can be denied admission in a government-aided institutions or institutions run by minorities. Right to constitutional remedy, children, next one. Constitution has not only given fundamental rights to the citizens of India, but also guaranteed them under Article 32 here. Article 32 protects all rights of the citizens. Whenever the rights are violated either by a person or a state government or a central government, the citizens may appeal directly to the Supreme Court for their protection. The very important fundamental right, children. Under this right to constitutions, if you are prohibited any of the fundamental rights, you can directly approach Supreme Court and you will be provided the justice within a very short time. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he has referred the Article 32 of the Indian Constitution as the heart and soul of the Constitution. Ambedkar referred it the heart and soul of the Indian Constitution. If any individual or the government at the center and state appear to violate a person's right, he has the right to approach the Supreme Court directly. The Supreme Court has the empowered to enforce the fundamental rights legally. Hence, it is called the protector of fundamental rights. The Supreme Court is called the protector of the fundamental rights, children. Even the high courts have the power to pass the following writs under Article 226. What are writs here? Very important point, children. The writs are nothing but the orders or the commands from the higher court to the lower court. There are some important writs mentioned here. Let us understand about the writs, children. First comes a habeas corpus, the very important writ it is. Under this writ, the order passed by the Supreme Court or the High Court to produce a person within specified time frame is called habeas corpus. Dear students, this writ is called a protective writ. This writ, it protects the individual right of a person. The second important writ here, children, that is called mandamus. What is mandamus here? When the legislature, executive or any other subordinate institutions fail to perform their certain duties or works, the Supreme Court or the High Courts orders them to perform these works. This is called mandamus. And this mandamus writ is issued by the High Court and the Supreme Court. But the order cannot be passed against private individual, governor or the president here. Next writ we have here prohibition, children. What is prohibition? When a subordinate court passes a judgment beyond its jurisdiction or the judgment is against the sense of natural justice, the High Court pass order against such judgments here. See, children, every court has its own limitations here. The court has to deal with its own powers. But in case the subordinate court passes a judgment beyond its jurisdiction, the higher court will ask the lower court here to stop the judgments. And the order is called as prohibition here. This can be passed against the lower court by the higher court. Certiorari, children. The next writ, when the subordinate court pass judgments beyond their jurisdiction or against the sense of natural justice, the higher orders the submission of records related to the judgment to it. In some of the cases, what happens, children? The lower courts will try to deal with such kind of the cases which will not come under the permit of the lower court, but it has already given the judgments and all. Under this writ, under the certiorari, when the high court, the higher courts will ask the lower court here to transfer the case and also to submit all the records related to that case. That is called certiorari. And the finally one, the quo warranto. What is quo warranto writ here? Public interest litigations can be filed for the purpose of protecting legal rights, rights that are essential to protect life and to protect environment from being polluted. Children, when it comes to the national interests, anybody can file the petition in the court. Public interest litigations are accepted by the court system. In case the people have not initiated the public interest litigation, nowadays there is a procedure, the court itself only registers the cases. These public interest litigations can be filed by individuals or social institutions also can be initiated here. In recent years, we see that the courts on their own are filing such public interest litigations when situations arise. These are all the fundamental rights and the important writs which comes under right to constitutional remedies. Dear students, followed by the fundamental rights, now let us learn about fundamental duties. Every citizen of this land should perform his duties which are stated in the constitution, children. So here are 11 fundamental duties are prescribed in the Constitution of India. Let us learn about all that fundamental duties. The first one, to respect the Constitution, national flag, national anthem of the country. It is our utmost duty to respect our Constitution, our national flag, national anthem, national representations, children. Being the citizens of India, it is our duty to respect. We have to respect. Second important fundamental right, to follow the noble ideals that inspired our national struggle for freedom. Dear students, the freedom of India is a glorious chapter. We have attained the freedom from the British. Unforgettable scenes are there in the history of the freedom movement. In the freedom movement, some of the noble ideals, for example, truth, non-violence, civil disobedience, these are all the main ideals of Mahatma Gandhi ji, the principles of Mahatma Gandhi ji, which he adopted in his life. All these ideals should be followed by all of us here. And it is our duty to protect the integrity of India, all the Indian citizens. Another most important duty here, to protect uphold the integrity of India, unity of India, to defend the motherland when called upon to do so. Dear students, another important fundamental duty here. See, when there is a call from the nation during the emergencies mainly, if there is any threat from any foreign country, if there is an invasion of any of the Western countries, if there is a call from the country, we should be ready to serve for our motherland. And that is called to defend the motherland when called upon to do so. We have to join our armed forces and we should strengthen them. And also, the fifth fundamental duty here, to promote the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India and disown those rituals that go against the dignity of women. Dear children, India, various ethnic groups are there in India. We are all living in a brotherhood policy. And if there are any such kind of the practices where the women are not given equal status in the society, such kind of the rituals should be prohibited here. Means such kind of the rituals we should stop. Sixth fundamental duty, to preserve our rich heritage. India is known for its rich heritage in the world, children. It is our duty to prevent the rich heritage of the country. The seventh one, to protect and develop environment including forests, lakes, rivers and wildlife, and show compassion to all the animals. Every Indian citizen has to do this duty. We should protect our natural resources. We should protect our water bodies here. We should protect our animals here. And the eighth fundamental duty, to develop the scientific temper and the spirit of inquiry. Yes, as we are in the 21st century, children, we should have the spirit of inquiry, reasoning. Every time we should think logically here, and every time we should think scientific lines. To safeguard public property and to abstain from violence. Dear students, it is very important fundamental duty. You might have seen in various bandhs, hartals and all, some of the social groups, they try to involve with all these kind of the activities. You know children, these are the great assets of the country. It is the duty of all the people to safeguard public property and to abstain from violence. You should be away from that. You should not create a violence in the society. And the 10th fundamental duty here, to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activities. The overall, the holistic development is approached in the Constitution, in the fundamental duties concept, children. And also, in the recent days, the 11th fundamental duty is prescribed in the Constitution of India. What is that? That is only the parents or the guardians should provide an opportunity for their children for education from the age of 6 to 14 years. It is the duty of the parents, children. The parents should provide the basic education to their children who are aged between 6 to 14 years. The government itself only made free and compulsory education. And the education is the main, the backbone of the development of India. So therefore, every child should be educated in India to improve our literacy mission. This kind of the duty has implemented. Dear children, here you have an activity. So what is that activity? Collect information with the pictures about the prominent leaders who were the members of the Constituent Assembly. Dear students, after that we have DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policies. In the last class I told you, Directive Principles of State Policies are borrowed from the Irish Constitution, the Ireland Constitution. Some of the important directive principles of state policies are enlisted here. Let us learn about all that. First one, to provide adequate means of livelihood to all the citizens. Directive principles of state policy aim in such a way where the entire nation, the welfare of the nation is seen in implementing the directive principles of the state policy. And they improve the socio-economic conditions of the country. So first one, to provide adequate means of livelihood to all the citizens. And the second one, to prevent the community wealth and resources from becoming the private property of a few people. This is second directive principle of state policy. The third one, to provide equal pay for the equal work to both men and women and to protect labor welfare. And the fourth one, to provide public assistance to those who are old, sick and weak or helpless. To implement a uniform code throughout the country, the uniform civil code, the uniform law system in the country. That is one more important principle. To provide opportunity for the development of health and preschool education to all the children below 6 years. One more principle. To protect historical monuments and maintain places of historical interests. It is our duty to protect our own heritage, children. And to separate the executive from the judiciary. Dear students, we have read already. We have the three organs of the government: legislature, executive and the judiciary, children. So legislature, executive and the judiciary. To separate the executive from the judiciary. Now judiciary in India is an independent organization. Neither a legislature nor an executive interfere. So therefore it is called independence judiciary system. And to protect international peace and to respect international law. One more important principle. To establish the Gram Panchayats. Look at here, another important principle, children. Gram Panchayats are called the pillars of the democracy system in our country. Establishment of Gram Panchayats should be given more importance, and also to encourage rural and cottage industries, to organize and develop agriculture and animal husbandry on modern lines, to ensure a prohibition of liquor, another important directive principle of state policy, and to ensure development of farming based on scientific methods. So these are some important directive principles of state policy, children. The directive principles of state policies are very important to achieve socio and economic goal, while the fundamental rights relate to an individual. Here, the directive principles of the state policy relate to the whole community, to the whole country. The central and the state governments are making their own efforts to implement all the principles, and such principles aims at holistic development of the country, overall development of the country. Dear students, till now we studied the fundamental rights and fundamental duties and the directive principles of state policies of India. Now let us have a glance on the exercise part of the textbook, children. The first part of the exercise here, fill in the blanks are given. The first one, let us discuss the answers. After completing the lesson here, I hope that you understood all the points and you will be able to answer all these questions, children. The law which governs the state is called Constitution. And the second one, the meeting of new Constituent Assembly was held on 9th December 1946. And the third one, children, the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constitution was none other than Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who played a very important role in making of Indian Constitution. And fourth one, our Constitution provides for a parliamentary system of government. After that, the state where the people enjoy sovereign power is called democracy. Sixth one, our Constitution provides for single citizenship to its citizens. The seventh question, the right for constitutional remedies has been incorporated in Article 32 of Indian Constitution. The directive principles of state policy are borrowed from Irish Constitution, children. So these are all some important fill in the blanks. Dear students, followed by the fill in the blanks, we do have some answer the following questions. The first one, who was the president of the Constituent Assembly? Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the president of the Constituent Assembly. When did the Constitution come into force? 26th January 1950, the Constitution of India was enforced. What does the preamble to the Constitution contain? The preamble to the Indian Constitution contains the main aims and aspirations of the Constitution of India. What do you mean by word secularism? Dear students, we have already understood secularism, meaning where all the religions are accepted equally. That is called secularism. Dear students, I am Hemant V. Dhalwai, who works as a resource person for the social science subject and also work as an assistant teacher for the New Cambridge Group of Institutions, Vijayanagara, Bengaluru. Thank you, children.